Welcome back, guys. It's been quite some time. It's been so long, my hair grew long. Look at that. So this episode, we're going to revisit the boosted gear. I know a lot of people have been asking about the boosted gear for some time for my socials, and I decided to revisit the boosted gear on how we build it and how different things that go into making it a lot easier to wear, a lot easier to pack up, to ship if you're going to a con. So this episode, we're going to get boosted. Be mindful that there's a lot of old footage that are redid for this video because some parts are still relevant to the overall build, and then you'll see some of the new footage. Also, if you're coming here just to see how to put it on, if you purchase a finished version of the boosted gear for me, I'm going to show you a step-by-step. I'll put a time clip down below where you can just jump to. I'll probably put chapters in hopefully I'll put chapters in for you guys throughout the build, so that way you know where to jump to. Okay, so jump to whatever the time marker is down there, and that way you can get to see how you put on the boost gear from start to finish.
All right, so first on the color scheme here, we go with a gloss black. I like Krylon. If you find another paint that you like, this is basically, for the most part, 90% of the paint I use will be Krylon. From this, go to the Rusto metallic finish gold. There's a little gold tip there. Do the gold spray paint. Then from there, I jump over to the Duplicolor Metal Cast red. And this, we're going to be doing 3 very light misting coats to get that nice deep color. Then from there, we're going to jump to the clear coat. A lot of times I've been using the 1K clear. I actually have a 2K clear for this setup. Because of 2K, you really have to use it like one and done. If you're only doing one model, not really doable for getting a 2K. So you can get away with doing 1K. For the most models I have done it before has been with the 1K. So don't worry about that. And for this, we're going to be doing 2 light coats and then a heavy coat to get that nice shiny finish. So there are your colors minus this one. This is going to be a 2K for when I get to mine. My 2K is coming in the mail. So black, gold, red, coat, clear coat. Here we got the spray setup for the fingers, the fingertips, and the little nubs there. Sometimes on some parts, I do have a little spray set up for the spikes for the small parts. But when I have all these parts, I don't want them to move because these tend to jiggle around too much in here. And so I decided to use the styrofoam because I have these for other parts. So I stick them in there. And then the nubs, the finger parts in here, to get them to support themselves, I just get some aluminum foil. You can get a piece of paper, a piece of plastic wrap, some kind of thing that will be stick on the sticks. These are the little spray clip stands for like modeling. So you put some aluminum foil on the tip, shove them in there, and just make sure when you do it not to cover up the bottom parts, because that way when you get down there, you can spray that. Because sometimes I do forget to spray the bottom parts of things. So remember when you're spraying, take those off and then spray those individually and hit those. And then as far as the bigger ones, I could just shove them on there and they fit fine. But with the aluminum foil, this way, if I shake them, they won't spin around because they're stuck on the aluminum foil. This one I could probably put a little more aluminum foil. Let's see, it's loose. But this one, these are all nice and stuck. So now we're going to go ahead and start spraying these. Because they're the resin printed, I just had to do some light sanding on some parts that had some little dots, little divots from the resin supports. But we're going to go ahead and spray this with black. All right, there we go. That's the first coat of the paint. We got the gloss black on there. You see in the sun over here has the gloss black. We'll jump over to the gold next. All right, there we go. There is the gold. Again, trying to get this in the right light here. Use the Rust-Oleum metallic finish gold. There are all the fingers, tips. And now after this, we're going to go over to the metallic red. The thing to note is between coats of all the paints, about at least 15 minutes between coats. So that way it gives some time to dry, but not so much. So that way the next coat is ready to adhere to the layer. All right, guys, hopefully you can see this in this light. This is the final coat of the metallic red. Again, if I had my clear coat ready to go, I would go ahead and spray the clear coat once this settles for a few minutes. If you're going to go with the 1K, then yes, you can go ahead. Of course, if you're doing 2K, hopefully you have enough models to be spraying, because that one bottle does cost a lot of money. And so I have myself set up with a bunch of sets to spray at one time. So this is just the fingerprints, and I'll just go through the whole step with the rest of the main parts, and then we'll start assembling once these are all painted. All right, here's the top part. This is, again, I made a mistake originally. I painted the fins here red, and then I was going to do the middle was gold, yellow, but I don't know what came over me. And realization, as I was watching the show, I was like, wait a minute, the colors are reversed. So I went back, taped it off, not a big deal, painted this. And then what I do for the tips, I have that little effect, I guess, going through fight or a glow. I just use orange spray paint. Actually, let me grab the spray paint. I'll show you that. Well, I just realized I actually lent out or gave my orange can of spray paint that I had to a friend of mine that he was working on his own project, so I can't really show you, but it's Krylon orange. You go down the aisle with the rest of the paints of Krylons. It's an orange spray paint. Maybe I'll put the picture here somewhere, whatever it looks like. All right, let's talk about the update for the boost gear. Probably one of the biggest, and I guess I would say most beneficial update to the boost gear is the hand attachment. So before, we were glued all the fingers on all the parts. Before, also the back part, or the palm part, right? This is the back of the hand. That's the back. Go here, right? But originally, in my last tutorial, I was doing a EVA foam thing. Since then, I was able to do a 3D file for the parts of the palm. So we got palm here. This piece that goes there. This piece goes here. This piece goes around here, and this piece is in the middle, right? So as I was picking them up, you might see those little black things. What we're doing is went ahead and got 2mm EVA foam and cut it to the size of the back. Why, you may ask? It's to hide or to better cover the red 10mm elastic. So between the attachment for here, so now this is going to be freestanding. Now you can be able to, as you bend your wrist or you twist your wrist, this doesn't stay stagnant or stationary to the main boost portion of your forearm. So fixing this, I went ahead and we added straps. Don't mind this, I had to take this off, I had to repaint this. But so I added these little hooks here where we're going to run the elastic around. I also cut off the nub here, right? So this won't interact with the forearm. And so that's going to be a lot better as far as this attaches with elastic, and this you can then flex your hand as you need be on while you're wearing it. So what I did was, this is actually, we're going through this right now. I thought about this recently, and I haven't actually had a chance to test the whole thing. But the idea is to run the elastic. These parts would then be here, right? And this part goes here. So what we're going to do is, I did this with another project I was working on for Ashes Stampede project for somebody, and this came out really good. So what we do is stick pieces of elastic, connecting them, all these parts together, meanwhile running it all the way around between the palm back here and the top here. So now all these connect to each other, and then all those connect to your hand, right? And then to cover all that so it doesn't look like a mess, we got the EVA foam that's cut out that will cover those. And you cut them smaller than the actual parts. That way you don't have any overhang or anything. So when I like this, which side is this? That's for that. This piece here. So once we put the elastic in there and then we cover the foam there, this is there, and it actually winds up being better for your hand and nice and soft on your hand. But you're still going to be having the glove. You'll still have the red glove, so you'll still have that backing part, but adds in a little extra piece of cushion instead of maybe some rough-ish. You try to make sure you sand this down, clean this up, so that way it's nice and smooth on your hand. So let's go ahead and mount all this up, and I'll see what it looks like. All right, so now if you weren't hasty like myself, you would have waited to get these pieces of elastic attached to this backside before you went and put the EVA foam. So I got a little hasty and had to peel this back a little bit so I can stick these pieces of elastic, but that's okay. Now that you have all these pieces connected, now you can go ahead and put the other pieces of EVA foam in place that you've cut out. This is a 2mm foam again. Make sure you got them all arranged in the right spot. And after if you've already painted this, you should have already painted all the parts. I just threw down a shirt that I had, so I keep this soft so you don't damage the great paint job you guys did. So I'm going to go ahead and stick all these parts to the pond. Alright, so there we go. We got all the foam on there. And if you have this elastic's going to be in the way. You just flip this around and then now you can get to it, to the side. So now if we put everything on, slide this, slide your fingers back behind the other one. And this part, I always forget. Let's see, slide this on, shimmy it down. There we go. So the elastic has to go behind your thumb here. There we go. It winds up staying in place right there. There we go. Nicely in place. So now we're going to go ahead and finish the rest of the hand here. And then attach the fingertips to this, put the gem and everything. And we're going to wrap this, start wrapping the hand part up. Alright, there we go. That's all the parts with the foam on the back, right? The elastic here, this needs to go behind your thumb, so to secure it in place. So this wraps around your thumb there. This elastic goes around, that stays secure there. And now you have it nicely be able to attach to your hand. Let's see with the glove on real quick. Well, I just realized I ran out of red gloves, so I'm going to have to go ahead and order more gloves so I can finish this this set, right? So, but that's it. The elastics will disappear pretty much into the redness when you get the glove, but it's the only glove I have, so there's that. I'm going to go order some more gloves now. On to the next part. Now for the fingertips, you're going to go ahead and get yourself the red elastic, get yourself 5 pieces of 3.5 inches of the red elastic. You're going to wind up cutting it a little bit. You're going to wind up cutting it once you get to the palm part, but you want to give yourself enough meat to work with as you work through all the fingertips. And from when I do the fingers, I have this little EVA foam scraps that I use for an elevation. That way the fingertips can fit in the rest over here. And then when I set up my fingers so I know which fingers are going, I just set them up in the orientation my hand is going, because that way it's match up. Anyway, so start with the pinky here. This rests right there in the crevice there. That would go there. And then the scallop, I guess, the scallop part, that goes to the back, to the back of your hand over here. So the little curved part, that goes to the edge of your fingertip. And that works for the same thing for that we'll do right in the middle. There we go, right? Scallop part here, curve, goes out, and then fingertip. So we're going to go ahead and put a little piece of glue, Loctite glue's there, put a little bit of glue in here. That'll feed that in there, and then we'll go ahead and feed the next piece of elastic. That'll go in here, the elastic will go in there, and that'll feed that. And you want to actually make sure they are close together, right? Because if you have them too far, then you're going to have this giant gap, and then you have elastic. If you keep them nice and close as you put them on, obviously you have elastic and it'll stretch to where you need it to be. So it's better to have it closer than further away. So I'm going to go ahead and start mounting all these elastics to all these fingertips and see what it looks like. All right, so the next part here is the bottom of the boost, the main boost part here is you go ahead and scratch this, like scratch these little parts off, so that way you have more sticking power with the elastic. Otherwise, it does a really poor job once you put the glue. It does a really poor job of sticking to the paint here. So I go ahead and scratch this off. That way, line this up where you're going. What I do is you put my hand in reverse and then scratch wherever my fingers are. Give a good scratch there. And then we're going to go ahead and line that up to where the elastic is and just mark off. You're going to bring this elastic all the way to the gem here, because when you put the new part that we have, part of the kit is, here's this printed part, and you just see this piece of aluminum. This is going to help reflect the light back out instead of it being sucked into the blackness over here, dark part of the piece, when that gets put in there. So when we put the fairy lights, we're going to run the fairy lights around there, hot glue them all around, and then we're going to stick the battery pack back here. So I went ahead and just got a piece of aluminum foil. This is just one sheet, but I folded it up 4 different times, so it's a little thicker. And then I pressed it all into the creases. And what we're going to do is, as you see, it's a little loose right now. So we're going to go ahead and some crazy glue all around here, stick that in there, secure that in place. That way we can mount this all there. So that's, go ahead and glue that together, get that meshed up there. That's going to go there for later. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and line up all your parts here. Mark it, cut back the excess that we don't need, and we're going to, as soon as you're doing, let me lower this camera here a little bit. As you're doing the elastic here, you want to cut that into the angle. So as when you go ahead and put the cover on, it's going to go ahead and cover up that little bit of elastic that's there. So let's go ahead and cut off these pieces, glue them, and then you'll see what it looks like with the cover on before we put the lights on. All right, here we are back on the workbench here. We got the glove here. We got the fingers already glued here. And as you see over here, we got some hot glue. We're going to use hot glue to secure the fairy lights that come with the kit. The fairy lights are very long. You do not need all of it. Also, all of it will not fit in the compartment there. So we're going to go ahead, and what I actually did this time was I wrapped the wire around here. I hot glued that to the end, to around the side, because that'll chew up a lot of the excess in the beginning. So your light doesn't start for quite a bit. So you figure out where that is. You line that up, and as you can see, there's a little coil. So all I did was here is wrap this around my finger a couple times, kind of loose, so that way you can get it off there. And I give it 10 rotations because the lights are a good amount apart. Right there, the lights are a good amount apart. I'd say, I think I have a measuring tool here. 1, 6, about 4 inches, about 4 inches apart, right? So go ahead and wrap this a couple times. And there we go. We put that, and that way when these lights go in here, and that center part there, you'll see that lights up pretty good. We're gonna move this aside. You can go ahead and pull this tab out, right? And you got the little tab here for the battery. You pull that out, the lights go on, make sure the lights are working with the batteries. There you go, pretty nice and bright. And the lights are gonna go in here. We're gonna secure this with a little bit of hot glue here, and then we're gonna wrap the fairy lights around the outside several times to give a good light pattern. And as you go, just tack a little bit of hot glue on. If you happen to have a can of air spray, thing for a duster, to blow some air, this also helps as you're going. Hit it with a little air, and that'll cure the glue quicker. So that way you're not sitting there waiting for it to burn your finger or anything. So hit that with the air, and then keep going around until you're satisfied with the amount of lights that are in there to fit everything in there. So we're gonna go ahead and do that, and I'm gonna show you what it looks like when it's all glued in. All right, so here we are. Now, it doesn't have to be exact. You want to have it organic, because that's what the twinkling lights, I guess, you would see on the other side. We're gonna, as you see, this is all secured here now. Glued that in there. Went ahead and glued all those little lights around there. It, again, doesn't have to be exact because we're going for that organic look there. And we have all those there. We're gonna go ahead and grab the back part, secure that on, and then put the strap here that links into here. Got hot glue on my hand still, and that'll be the end of this part of the boost gear. Here we go. We got the back plate secured, the light cover that's secured there, and then now we have back to our red elastic. What I like to do is when I'm putting parts, as you see, remember from the palm part, you want to make sure when you're attaching or cutting the size for your elastic, you want it shorter than what the actual thing is, because if you make it the exact size, you're not going to have that security from the elastic, right? So what I do is I go about here where your hand is, and then for whatever it looks like, try to get this at the right angle here, going there to there, just kind of overlay, and then once we loop it over, it's going to get tighter. We're going to lose up some of that slack that's here. We're going to lose that slack there. So doing that will be the right amount of elastic that you need. So go ahead and run the elastic over from one side to the other, and right there is where I'm going to cut, and then we're going to go ahead and right there we're going to cut that piece there, and we're going to loop this into the loop here ever so gingerly to get this through here. Get a piece here, there, right. We're going to secure that with some glue, some crazy glue, got the old Loctite in there. We're going to secure that one there. Then we're going to run this on the other side, secure that on that side, and that would be the strength that you need to keep this secure to your hand. All right, there we go. Let me get this on the right angle there. There we go. That's on there secure, nice and tight. You get the light there. You got the switches back there. There's all your fingers. Well, all except for the thumb. Let's go ahead and put the palm part with the thumb on, and you'll see what it looks like with everything secured. All right, now you got all the parts there. Everything is now secured. You have the thumb, which I would never like that it was separate. It was, loose. I felt like it going out when you have this random thumb part coming out, just sticking on. So now it is now secured to the palm part. So this is one piece, and then the back of the hand is the other piece with the fingers. So the elastic for the back of the hand slides underneath here, right here. All the elastics are there. And we're going to turn on the boost. There we go. Look at that. Look at that gem shine, right? Now you can freely move. Of course, this is going to be a lot better once you have red glove on, and then we get to the boost, the forearm. All right, so that's the hand part. This is the new upgraded version of the palm, and that's a lot better to work with. End part of the build here. You got through all the painting and everything. You got all the priming, the clear coat on here. Again, we got this support here. I use this for keep it from rocking right there. As you see, the new addition of the new build is these magnets here. They're that you'll want to get. These are pressed in and glued in place. I use the 40-pound magnets. They are called button magnets, I believe. I'll put the line item there. But they are the measured in, let's see, I forgot already. 20 millimeters by 7 millimeters. And these are for the 40 pounds. So you'll go ahead and glue them in from one side, and then on the other side where they have the top spike with the other addition of the magnet holder, those will be on the other side. So that way you can take this on and off and not have to worry about it being glued in place, right? The old model, everything was glued in place, and then it was terrible for transport. This way now you can take off the spike, put the spike back on with the supportive magnets. You'll also have these little magnets that are pressed in here. This is going to be part of the clamping part, but we're also going to be putting elastic across one side, the back side here, so that way it'll keep it from separating, because even though these magnets, they're not the best magnets, they're not the strongest magnets. The really strong magnets are these, but as you see, they're just way big to be able to fit in those little spots. These are really just almost superficial magnets at that point. So we're going to go ahead. So now you have the straps, holders, supports here, this magnet down here, and we're going to go ahead and feed elastic. Same thing how we did for the hand part. You're running elastic. You would put your arm here. You'd put your arm, run the elastic over, measure that distance, and then take your arm off. Cut that piece, loop it in here, glue it, loop it in here, glue that. Do the same thing for the back side. And then we're going to go ahead and get a thicker elastic. This is a little bit stronger elastic. You can get, I forget what this is, an inch and a half? Yeah, it's an inch and a half. You can go like an inch. This is an inch and a half. This is, so anywhere between an inch and a half I've used for the supporting elastic. So don't worry about that. But I wouldn't recommend this thinner one, because you really want a nice firm elastic to keep those bottom part and the top part clamshell together. So go ahead, and we're going to go ahead and measure these parts, cut those up to, and they're going to be different. The front is going to be smaller because obviously, how your arm is. So the front side closest to your wrist will be different than the back side. So do make sure you measure the distance for both of them before you go cut. Don't measure the same thing for both sides. They will be different. All right, and just for reference, see, you have two different lengths of elastic here. This is for the closer to your wrist part section, and this is for the back section here. And you see they are two different lengths. So make sure you do measure both sections independently before you go ahead and cut this. All right, let's try to get that at a good angle there. All right, so there we are. There is it on the arm. Do make sure you give yourself actually a little bit more slack in there. The strap holders, or the elastic holders, arms in there, are meant for up to 1 inch elastic. So if you want to get a bigger elastic, so for a little more surface on your arm, that's a lot better. I usually do have 1 inch, but I actually ran out of 1 inch elastic while I was doing this. So there it is. You can do it if you have the small 1/4 inch or ½ inch elastic on there, and that'll work. But I do recommend when we do the next part, get the thicker, at least for that, the 1 inch or 1½ inch for elastic. So that's what it looks like right there. We're going to attach the part, right? The back part of the arm, and I'll show you where we stick the elastics for that. Oof. All right, let's get to the next part. All right, so here we are with the thicker elastic. This elastic is pretty tight, so we're gonna make sure we give ourselves a little bit of slack there. Even if this was a more stretchy elastic, you were gonna do like a little bend here when we stick it in there, so that way it gives ourselves some more room to stretch out there. So cut yourself a piece of 3-inch long elastic, and let me get the camera in here. Hold on. All right, so right here, what we're going to do is stick the elastic from this line here down to here. Make sure you clear the magnet. If you do not clear the magnet, then you're going to be in the way of the other part. So make sure we're going to come all the way up here. We're going to run the elastic down. You're gluing here, and we're going to leave this part and this part without any glue. Your glue's down here and up here, okay? So this is the piece, because if you glue all this, then it's not going to stretch. So we need to make sure this stretches between here. So again, glue and glue down here. No glue. All right, guys, say with me, no glue. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and stick both sides, and you're doing it on both sides. Okay, so you're doing it up here, and then for the other side, you're doing it on this side. So we're gonna go ahead and glue these parts, and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, let's talk about the top spike here. We got the new addition with the magnets I mentioned briefly. The kit comes with these little magnets. These are part of the print here. So then you'll go ahead and glue it to the appropriate size. The notch, make sure the notch follows the direction of the top here. So like this will go here, and then there's another one that goes this way. You go ahead and secure that magnet, right? Button magnet here into there. Make sure you are matching it up to the other side so that way that they stick, obviously. And once you have all this secured and this is painted and everything, I'm going to bring this, the main arm, the forearm. Here's the top spike, and this just lines right up and links up. And that's it. That's probably one of the easiest parts of the whole build, right? Obviously making sure the taping and everything gets painted right. So what I do is like over here for the like I get the orange, I got the yellow here. I'll go ahead and just on the orange there. So a lot of people mention like, oh, there's overspray. No, it's not overspray. It's just the way I paint this style here. All right, let's go ahead and throw it all on and see what it looks like fully assembled.
All right, guys, so you've made it this far into the video, unless you just did the whole skip and then you're here. We're going to do the wearing, the putting on of the boosted gear. So first things first, we're going to grab the glove. So this is how the breakdown is. We're going to put the red glove on, and then we're going to stick on the forearm, then the palm part, then the back part, and then finally the top spike, which I call the top spike. Anyway, so let's just jump into putting on the boosted gear. So either if you bought the kit to build it yourself, and if you have, kudos to you, because as you can see, it is quite an intensive build. And if you haven't, and you bought the finish, thank you, because I get to work on that. So first things first, either you get the kit or you buy it finished, you'll have a red glove. So we're gonna put the red glove on. This is gonna be your base for everything else, right? So you got your red glove. Then you have the main forearm of the boosted gear, right? And inside we have the elastics that we talked about for the build. And if you did the skip thing, there are elastics in there, right? All right. So you can pop up the clamshell there, so that way you can squeeze in a little more better. Get your hand in there. You can open that up. And what I usually do is kind of push on the front. Once you're in there, you can make sure the magnets stick and clamshell there closed, right? Then we're going to put on the palm part, followed by the back of the hand. Here we have the palm part all put together. You're going to slide in. And the great part about the new update, you have the thumb and everything stuck together on the hand there. And if you did the skip part, the bottom elastic goes to behind your thumb. That goes on there. Let me try to flip this so you guys can see. Okay. There is the palm with the thumb. Then we're going to put on the back hand. Here we got the back. And then the red elastic is going to slip between the middle here. All right. Just as you do that, you're going to slip your fingers, squeeze them in there. right? All right. We're almost done there, guys. That's pretty quick, right? And then we're going to put in the top spike here. And the great part about this is, again, the magnets that we've added to the addition. You're going to squeeze in there. Make sure that's secured. Make sure the forearm is in there. And that's it. Oh, and then the light, obviously, right? Turn on the light. Boom. There we go. You can see my hand back, right? Hand down. All fingers move, all the digits move. And that's how we assemble the boosted gear. Thanks again, guys, for coming in, for watching this video. If you liked what we do here at the channel, please make sure you give it a like. Give us a follow. If you're not following, if you're not, what are you doing, guys? Make sure you guys are following. Thank you. Big shout out to everyone who purchased a finished version. It really helps the channel, helps the page up. And make sure you guys are doing all the following of all the socials when I do updates for this and every other build I work on. Again, I'm Chris. This is Make It Nerdy, and you've been boosted.